Udta Punjab was truly a gift for Alia Bhatt.
Yeah, and she's a gift for all of us. I mean, what a wonderful actor. I mean, you know, she takes the entire nepotism theory and throws it out the window, man. When I'm at home, my wife doesn't find me funny, but, you know, kids under 10, 12 really find me very funny. But otherwise, you know, but I do try. In fact, I had to keep my voice down because वो sound वाला बोला था तू हंसेगा यार तो फिर मैं क्या record अच्छा sorry. The one thing that's different in Killer Soup compared to everything else that I've done was a story of that place. Like Uttar Punjab could not have been set in say Haryana or Rajasthan because it's very specific to that milieu.
Yes.
Or even Chambal. I mean, Chambal के ही डाकू हैं. वो आपको उड़ीसा में नहीं मिलेंगे.
You know, it's a great year when one of your favorite filmmakers brings a piece of content to you. I'm talking about Abhishek Chaubey, जिनके साथ मुझे हमेशा से बात करनी थी. He's not a very prolific filmmaker and that could be a complaint, but let's ask him why today. Thank you so much for joining me, Abhishek. मेरे शो पे आने के लिए बहुत-बहुत शुक्रिया.
Pleasure.
Killer Soup 3 एपिसोड मैंने भी कुछ और दोस्तों की तरह देखे हैं. And let me start off by telling you it is delicious if you're serving this soup. This is your first attempt at being a series, maker. क्या बदला है आपके लिए? Did anything change at all आपके लिए आपके मन में in the writing या फिर in the direction? मुझे बताइए.
Series is complicated, especially when you're doing it the first time, simply because of the volume of work that you have in front of you. अमूमन we are just used to writing like 100-page script. 120 की भी होगी तो बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया.
हाँ जी.
So, and this is 450 pages. So, yeah. So just the sheer length of the story, yeah. So that's kind of hard. Writing it takes much longer, and it's a bit like running a marathon. So you got to hunker down, you got to pace yourself, and you got to give it the time that you need to give it to. You can't rush through it.
Correct.
And it's similar in when it comes to directing it. Generally what happens when you're directing a film, you remember the script. I mean, I'm also part of the writing. You remember the script like the back of your hand.
Correct.
54th page ka 6th line mein ye likha hai. I mean, it's literally like that. You've been with it for 2 years before you direct it. But in this case, it's kind of hard because iske pehle kya hua, iske baad mein kya hoga, you're like a little lost because it must be 273rd page that we're talking about. And you kind of don't remember. I, for the first time, actually had to depend a lot on my script supervisor. Yaar, ye bata de yaar, mujhe to yaad nahi aa raha. So in that sense, just the sheer volume of it affects your work. But at the same time, we've got these new terminologies like a showrunner and all of those things that have come to, our regular parlance because of the series. लेकिन वो सब का process वही है. It's like making a movie. It's the same thing. I mean, you reach the set at 6 a.m. and then you start making it. I mean, start shooting it. So in that sense, it's not very different. And one of the advantages I had on Killer Soup was that these 8 episodes contain the entire story.
बिल्कुल जी.
So it's not that we're going to, I'm going to leave some.
या पहले ही क्यों बता रहे हैं लोगों को? आने तो 2 series.
Yeah.
But you know what fascinated me is that ये जो कहानी है, it comes from real life. There was a Mrs. Reddy जिन्होंने अपने शौहर का कत्ल किया अपने लवर के साथ और फिर शायद उनको रिप्लेस भी किया होगा. What's interesting is ये कहानी घटी है और उसके बाद इस पर एक फिल्म भी बन चुकी है जिसमें अल्लू अर्जुन साहब थे और फिर ये दोबारा से कहीं ना कहीं इसकी इंस्पिरेशन. आई एम जस्ट सेइंग इट्स सच अ पावरफुल स्टोरी. क्या ये कहानी वहीं से, इसका रूट जो है, क्या वहीं से आपके लिए भी था?
जी, my writers actually got this story to me. So back they started this came to me in 2019. And by which time they had actually worked on it. They had written out a sort of a beat sheet of the first episode quite a bit and had a sense of the story, how it's going to go. And then thereafter, when I joined the thing and we started working, of course, it changed as we went along. It took us 2 years. So it is the writers who found it. But what I credit, Anant Uneza and Harshad was that it's a pretty dark story. I mean, कत्लेआम हो रहा है और ये क्या है कि जला दिया और ये कर दिया. मगर what they caught on was they found it incredibly funny. I mean, if you look at it, how incredibly stupid this idea is, and what were you even thinking? And the thought that they had, which we discussed immediately when we met the first time, was, what if they did not get caught? What if this worked? And then that led to the rest of the story, where we went. Because when we are scrolling down in the internet looking for news, which is what we do these days, we come across a number of very very bizarre headlines.
In fact, मेरे एक दोस्त से मैं बातें कर रही थी, वो और मैं, I mean, we connect once a week and talk about the movies. That's what we do. और वो रहता है टोरंटो में, तो for his reference मैंने कहा एक शो देखी है, बड़ी अच्छी लगी, तो उसने कहा अच्छा what is it about? तो मैंने I didn't take a second, I just said just imagine Coen Brothers in Connor. क्योंकि मुझे उसको वो वाला रेफरेंस देना था, उसको शायद पता नहीं होगा. Because we love the ridiculous, and sometimes it's so fun to see very serious stuff, लेकिन आप हंस रहे हो. और ये कहीं ना कहीं has been, you enjoy this genre.
A lot.
Yes. Let's talk about putting together a fabulous ensemble of actors. मेरे हिसाब से ये अभिषेक आपका सबसे strong suit रहा है हमेशा से. I think a good director is also a smart worker. क्योंकि I think in many interviews I've heard you say you credit your actors because of course you write it a certain way and you wish to direct it. लेकिन अच्छे actors का होना half the battle is won आपके लिए.
I totally agree. I think a lot of direction actually happens in the office. So the direction on set is also very performative.
Bilkul.
You've got to pretend that you know everything, even if you don't. But a lot of actual directions happens in the office. What we really do as filmmakers is really get people to understand what we're trying to make and get the best out of them.
Bilkul.
And I am not a acting director, acting coach nahi hu main. So I can't work with, I need great talent at my disposal to work with.
Okay.
And I think casting well, I think is one of the primary responsibilities of a director, I think, because it really is half the battle won, as you say.
But when actors say कि हम directors actor हैं, तो ये जिम्मा आपको नहीं लेना है.
नहीं ऐसी बात नहीं है. ठीक है, they can, I mean they can call it, even in my work they can call it director's actor. But what I really like to do is I the way I work, and actors are different. Each actor is different. They're human beings. They're not a prop. So I mean, how you approach one from the other is going to vary on what kind of person you're talking to. But at the same time, I do not like to tell them how to act, because once in a while you need to do that, because if you're working with a child or if you're working with an elderly person, a non-actor, they bring a certain character to the performance, but sometimes you got to do it. But in this case, when I'm working with stalwarts like Manoj or Konkona or Nasir or Lal or any of these guys, I don't need to tell them how to do this. I just need to tell them what this means.
Yes,
what are you thinking, and where are you going with this, and what are the consequences of what are you doing? What's going on in your head right now, and that should be enough. And then give them the room to play.
Yes.
Give them the stage. This is yours, now do it, and not start off. I mean, unless it's a very tricky scene cinematically where it's got a lot of action or a multi-camera setup or a lot of VFX.
उनको अपना काम
करने दें. Don't tell them कि तुम यहाँ से वहाँ ना जाओ, ये मत करो. This is your stage, play it. I will design my images accordingly. And there's a bit of both. There is a lot of exchange between the actors and directors, but in trying to capture the scene the best way possible. But I cannot tell them, and give them a framework to work with. कि भाई ये ज़्यादा है और ये कम है. बस. And then you play it within that. Very rarely it has happened. Very rarely it has happened, but very rarely that the actors got the complete understanding completely wrong. Very rarely it has happened, and almost never on this show with any of the leads, because like I said, it happens in the office, because office में भी बैठ के बात कर रहे हैं उसमें.
बिल्कुल. Speaking of ज़्यादा, the most ज़्यादा character ever has to be Prabhakar Shetty. ये आदमी इतना disgusting है. मैंने मनोज जी से कहा उस दिन लंच पे, मैंने कहा मनोज जी, how was it for you to play such a disgusting man? And he said, यार वो इतना disgusting है कि Coco would get disgusted with me जब मैं प्रभाकर बन के आता.
Not even shoot. I mean, not even on while we were shooting. Even just when वो कपड़े पहन के पहुंच रहे हैं set पे, and Coco would be disgusted. Yeah.
Double role मेरे हिसाब से. I am that era, that generation that grew up seeing कि अगर एक एक्टर अच्छा हो और वो अपने पीक पे चल रहा हो, तो चाहे वो अनिल कपूर हो, चाहे वो शाहरुख खान हो, या फिर वो बच्चन साहब तो है ही. We grew up watching the double role. कहीं ना कहीं the double role exited cinema. और मुझे कहीं, and now with Pathan, with Jawan of course, we had that opportunity. क्या ये double role के लिए प्यार आपके लिए भी था?
बहुत बहुत ज्यादा. मुझे डबल रोल फिल्म में बड़ा मजा आता था भाई ग्रोइंग अप. हाँ, और अब तो थोड़ा हम थोड़े लॉजिक के गुलाम हो गए हैं ना कि बाप भाई होना चाहिए, भाई होना चाहिए, ये होना चाहिए. कमीने हमने लिखी है उसमें, दे वर ब्रदर्स. बट हमने एक जमाना देखा है वेयर हीरो का डबल रोल है, कोई लेना देना नहीं है एक दूसरे से. Yeah, that was fun, man. I mean, what? I mean, the cinema is a little bit of suspension of disbelief, and you can have one coincidence.
Yes.
Right at the start, and then that's fine. People buy that. Correct. So yeah, I really enjoy it, and creating both Prabhakar and Umesh was a tremendous amount of fun. Maybe not so much for Manoj because it was very hard.
Yeah.
Because they're so different from each other, and we don't have the luxury ना कि आज हम 15 दिन से प्रभाकर करेंगे, उसके बाद we didn't have that luxury. आप सुबह प्रभाकर के कपड़े पहन के आइए और फलाना मेकअप करके आइए, and then a few hours later you got to be the other guy. So it was a lot of shift for him.
In fact, Manoj ji ने मुझसे कहा कि double नहीं triple.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And we won't reveal why right now. वो आप जान लेंगे, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं like, and I understood that, but it takes a fine actor, to know this.
Yes.
And I think आपके और मनोज जी की कहीं ना कहीं ये दोस्ती जो है, वो I think it's in the small details, right? सायाजी शिंदे साहब को इस सीरीज में लाना is a hat tip to Shul.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from कहीं ना कहीं your sort of admiration for that time as well. क्या आप उनके पहले फैन हुआ करते थे?
Of course. I mean, as far as Manoj bhai is concerned specifically, I came to Bombay on 30th June 1998 और 3rd July 98 में सत्या आई थी. तो मेरी पहली फिल्म थी. मतलब अपना बोरिया बिस्तर रखा और जेवियर्स इंस्टीट्यूट कम्युनिकेशन में दाखिला मिला और पहली फिल्म ये आई. So it was so auspicious that you land up in Bombay, in order to become a filmmaker at some point in your life, and the first film that you watch, Satya, and Satya I think has a very very profound impact on our films, even more so. It's felt even more so after all these years, because it actually changed quite a few things. It launched so many actors who are so successful today, including Manoj. Yeah. And I saw that film. I remember. I mean, I saw it in Eros, and I was in Xavier's hostel, and I walked quietly with my friend. Both of us did not exchange a single word.
फिल्म देखने के बाद
कुछ ये नहीं हुआ कि बड़ी अच्छी फिल्म थी या जो भी. We were quiet. We just walked quietly that 1.5 kilometers and got to our rooms, and and I saw it 8 times in that 1 week. So that film had a huge impact, and of course we were immediate big fans of Manoj. I remember we used to talk for about a few months after Satya came out. We used to talk in dialogues of Satya to each other,
Yeah.
So it was like our Sholay, in that sense.
So true. Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, and to see Manoj's career developed from there on, and I never got an opportunity to interact or even meet him during my early years. But when I did meet him in 2017 for Sensharma, I didn't know we were going to hit it off so quickly. So quickly and so well. There's a bit of an age difference between us, but we're like friends. So it's great working with him, and that ease and comfort was also so much with Konkona.
Yes.
So much. I mean, because Omkara. So I've known her. I've known her family very closely. So all that really helped, because मुझे कोई एक तरीके से approach नहीं करना चाहिए. How am I going to say this to this guy? It was very simple. I can just be myself and just say. बहुत बड़ी बेबाकी से I could talk to them. So that was very easy, and especially एक और छोटी सी चीज जो है ना, in these parts that Manoj has played, it's एक होती है life like, एक होता है larger than life. This is neither.
Unlifelike.
Yeah, completely. So it's a lot of fun in that sense, because a lot of our conversations with Manoj was कि हाँ loud करना है मनोज भाई, मतलब कितना loud करना है, मतलब वो नहीं पता, वो देखेंगे, but loud करना है. So actually it frees up the actor कि overacting के शिकार आप नहीं रहोगे.
मुझे वही लगा कि more than anything else while I was watching this show, they were having fun. और ये मेरे हिसाब से it's great for an audience also, क्योंकि the way
it's infectious,
the last couple of months, the last couple of years for Manoj Bajpayee have been so heartwarming for us as an audience to see. उनको बहुत अच्छा काम भी मिल रहा है, and same with Coco as well. We've known them as actors for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And कहीं ना कहीं now there is a beautiful acknowledgement, एक जो उनका ड्यू है उनको शायद मिल रहा है उस दौर में जब ऐसा एक शो आता है जहाँ पर they are having fun. I think that's what the audience should take away from it. Let's take a moment to say again, 90s kids had tip Tu Hi Re, one of the greatest love songs of all time. And मेरे लिए तो of course ये film ये Bombay is such a looming sort of influence on everything that we still continue to do.
Absolutely.
You know, pehle to Bombay kid, so Bombay. You know, we've seen what happened. But what I thought was really sweet is the fact that Nasir Sahab is here. You know, और वो बॉम्बे में भी थे.
Yes.
And I said, for the ones who, you know, live this life, this is such a beautiful hat tip.
Yeah.
And also the fact that there are actors who are South Indian actors, as we would say. I hate to say that because they're just actors.
Yeah.
And they're great actors. But it's a privilege for us to be able to see these actors in shows because of Manoj Bajpayee and because of Coco and because of Abhishek Chaubey. I think शायद अगर किसी ने उनका काम नहीं देखा उनको ये मौका मिलेगा. Was it a conscious choice for you as well? Did you go in saying that मुझे नासिर साहब चाहिए?
Yeah, he was a very early choice actually.
Wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful. Very early choice because his role, he plays Inspector Hassan. His role is on par with Manoj and Coco's. I mean, you know, he's the third lead of the show, and he's equally important as the other two characters are. He has his own arc, and we needed somebody of his stature and his, you know, ability to be able to pull this one off. And he was a very, very early choice. I remember even when I was doing my first sort of, I wouldn't even say a recce, it was just a scout. I was just traveling, you know. और हमारा dialogue draft भी हुआ नहीं था तब. And I remember I was in this place in the Nilgiris, in this town, with very poor Wi-Fi connection when I had my first video call with him. And I just gave him some odd references. He had read a little bit by then, I think 2 or 3 episodes. And I said, don't worry, sir, ho jayega. That's what I remember saying. And he was just so, he said, I was a little worried, is he not understanding the gravity and it's a pretty mammoth task that he has in front of him. Working with him was the most amazing experience of my life. I have never come across, you know, such a gentleman, you know, who's been around for 40 years, I guess, who enjoys each and every moment of what he does. And is such a gentleman off screen, such a good person to have on set. He is gold, that guy, you know. If I could, I would work with him again. So yes, there was the opportunity to cast a lot of people from down south. And
you took it.
Yeah, and I took it yes. both hands, you know. Amazing. And I said, you know, मुझे मजा आता है जब बुंदेलखंड जाओ तो वहाँ के एक्टर्स के साथ काम करो. So बहुत सारे एक्टर्स जो थे in Soncharia were from there. I mean, you know, and from there exactly where we were shooting, you know. So they knew the Bihar ऊपर नीचे. या फिर अब पंजाब में तो मेरे चंडीगढ़ थिएटर या अमृतसर थिएटर से रहे. तो this was an opportunity, and my casting director is also my producer, so that helps. Hani Trehan. And he got Varsha and Pooja, who were also casting directors on this show, who got all of these wonderful actors. So there was, of course, Nasir sir and Lal sir, who are, you know, very experienced. There was Rajiv, who's done quite a few Hindi films. But there was this host of other actors that we have not seen so much, and some of them not at all. And they're all from different theatre.
Manoj's secretary in this film, in the show.
Yeah. Kani.
I love her.
Kani is phenomenal. She's a phenomenal actor, and we've seen her. She's done a few shows.
Yes.
And she's a lovely girl and a wonderful actor. So her, and then there were people from theatre, from Hyderabad, from Bangalore, from Chennai. The guy who plays Thupalli, Anbu, he's a YouTube star down south. And
I love him.
What a darling, you know.
Cutie.
And the one who plays Khansama, Vaishali, she's from Hyderabad. One who plays her partner, Mehrun-Nisa, she's from Bangalore. So you have all of these actors from, you know, and this is the first gig, you know, Bombay show and all of these. But what a wonderful group of people, and working with them was, I mean, I think.
So can we safely say that Abhishek Chaubey hamesha se, before the term pan-India came about, pan-Indian filmmaker rahe hain. I love it. Hani Trehan, of course, you know, उनके साथ भी हम कुछ दिन पहले मिले, बैठे, बातचीत की. उन्होंने मुझे एक बहुत ही कमाल की कहानी सुनाई। उन्होंने कहा कि मैं और विशाल भारद्वाज की बात हो रही है इस वक्त, हमें बनानी थी ये पिक्चर, लेकिन हमको पता नहीं था कि पिक्चर बनती कैसे है। हमने कहानी लिखी थी और हमको कहानी पता है, लेकिन कैमरा कहाँ लगता है वगैरह वगैरह। सो दे हैच्ड अ प्लान व्हिच आई थिंक इज फैसिनेटिंग। उनका प्लान ये था कि विशाल जी ने कहा तू जाके बात कर अभिषेक से, एंड देन ही केम टू यू, एंड देन आई थिंक एट सम पॉइंट यू टोल्ड देम कि देखो यार, अगर काम करना है साथ में तो ये हायरार्कीज छोड़ दो, साथ में पिक्चर बनाते हैं। एंड डू यू नो दिस स्टोरी एज ही टोल्ड मी?
Yeah, he told me.
लेकिन अभी तो आपका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू चाहिए मुझे।
Yeah, he told me. No, yeah. So I mean, he came and interviewed me, sort of. And yeah, it all went swimmingly. I thought he's going to be my boss, but as it turned out, he was my second.
कि वो आते हैं ना कि देखते हैं इसको क्या पता है, कौन किसका इंटरव्यू ले रहा है पता नहीं चला।
And we were a week away from this. Is Makdi. We were a week away from shoot, and kuch as an assistant director, you got to make all these lists, right? The breakdowns and all. Kuch hua nahi tha. So I remember Hani came to my house at 10-10:30 बजे। एक हफ्ते निकलना है शूटिंग के लिए। एक हफ्ते मैंने कहा देखो बेटे, आज ही रात है, आज रात को ही बैठ के ऑल नाइटर मारना पड़ेगा, and we'll have to finish. So he comes to my house with a bottle of Old Monk, and we pretty much finished the breakdowns and that bottle in that one night, and then we hit it off. I mean, of course, we came.
And the rest is history. Of course, we know the sort of collaborative journey that you've shared, Vishal ji ke saath. You know, when it comes to whether it's an Omkara or the films that he made later, whether it's a Kamine. And now, truly, I'm having so much fun looking at you, coming into your own and making your own films. However, मुझे पूछना है कि did this format, liberate you a little bit? Because kahin na kahin with the films that you made in the past, even though Ishqiyan, Ded Ishqiyan had that certain humor, I saw it come back strong right now. So was that something that also made you have a lot of fun jab ye aap, direct kar rahe the?
Yeah, no, I did. I did actually have a lot of fun. Willy-nilly in movies made for the big screen, there's going to be some restriction or the other. I wouldn't directly call it commercial pressure, but there is some sort of a thing. This, in fact, I did not have to. I mean, we were, even when we were writing and there were scripts were going back and forth from Netflix and their feedback was coming in, it was on the story. It was whether the scene is working or not. There was nothing of that sort कि हाँ गाना डालना है या इतने गाने होने चाहिए या फलाना होना चाहिए, इस टाइप का कोई प्रेशर नहीं था। तो it actually gives you are expected to deliver the goods. Just give us a great story. Just give us a story that doesn't bore. I mean, just holds us and we have fun watching it. And that's a great brief, right? So in that sense, I was very free that I did not have to think anything outside, of the story.
So no commercial pressure.
There's no commercial pressure. Yeah. I mean, the story inherently has, it's very audience friendly in the sense that it's got a lot of sugar pill, it's got a lot of jokes, a lot of humor, it's got a lot of thrill and all of that. So that was in the DNA of the story, and that's something that I enjoy doing. But I did not have to think outside it.
Bilkul.
So that frees you up. And so you are just trying to, when you're trying to shoot, you're just trying to make this scene better for whatever it's worth. Yeah, and when you work with people like Manoj and Coco, you're not worried कि उनका बाल लटे यहाँ गिर रही है कि वहाँ गिर रही है. Just like, you're just
performance पे
काम हो रहा है. हाँ, and look का भी वहीं तक importance है कि, character निकल के आ रहा है कि नहीं. Look is also, it's not about the image of the star. So these things are really freeing for a filmmaker, and I wish and hope ain't gonna happen, but hope that happens in the big screen also. We're not so caught up in the hero's image, So that was very liberating for sure. And to tell a long format में क्या होता है ना कि there is a lot more room, there's a lot more time you have with the character that So their arcs, it's easier in a sense as a writer, I can tell you, to define their arcs because you have more time.
वक्त है
आपके पास
और ऑडियंस के पास भी है.
जी, तो वो है तो और it's just not about the the protagonist or the antagonist. Even other characters can have a clear arc, and you can see their journey, you can spend some time. So that's a lot of fun, and that's in the nature of this medium. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. So I enjoyed doing that. It also kept me on my toes because you're used to doing something 2 hours, but you're not doing something that's 7 hours long. So it also keeps you on your toes. It's almost like learning a new instrument, तो आपके synapses of the brain,
Yeah, they're wired differently, which is why I always say go on holiday as soon as you can, because just turning a doorknob differently does something to your body. It's amazing. When I was watching, I had a fun day yesterday because I rewatched all of your films in one day. It's possible.
Some patience
right now it's possible. I don't know 5 years later क्या ये होगा नहीं होगा लेकिन अभी के लिए if you decide to do an Abhishek Chaubey marathon, you could do it in one day. And the question that emerged from all of this was I really wanted to know कि ये जो humor है ये inspiration क्या है इस humor की? Because when we meet you, you're a pretty how do I say serious guy, but you make us laugh out loud. क्या रही है इंस्पिरेशंस ह्यूमर की? आपके आसपास के लोग जब आप बड़े हो रहे थे, कोई है ऐसा जिनका ये ह्यूमर कहीं ना कहीं रब ऑफ किया है आप पर?
I mean, yeah, it's the general vibe that my family has. I guess that's where it comes from. I also, at the risk of sounding a little philosophical, I mean, we try not to take things so seriously.
Yeah.
So we try, try and see the funny side of things in everyday life. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I try and crack a joke a minute when I'm at home. My wife doesn't find me funny, but kids under 10, 12 really find me very funny. But otherwise, but I do try, but it really comes together when I'm writing, creating. I mean, of course, Sonchide mein utna nahi tha because subject matter was very serious. हाँ, वो गलत लगता. But
लेकिन उड़ता में था.
उड़ता में बहुत था, उड़ता में बहुत था. Especially with Shahid's character, we could have a lot of fun, and we did, and it was in the similar zone. So and Ishq Hai Derishki, of course, I mean, to see he crime comedies, so we could do that. It's a space that I enjoy a lot.
Yes.
This space I really enjoy. I really have a lot of fun doing this kind of a thing, The filmmakers that I have enjoyed, I mean, I watch a variety of films. I don't have any problem with any particular style or genre. I consume everything. But filmmakers, after my heart are those, that have a little bit of this and that, So it comes naturally to me when we are writing.
Yeah.
Also, I write in collaboration, so it's a lot of conversation. तो conversation में हंसी मजाक चलता है, वो फिल्म में चला जाता है basically.
अच्छा, बहुत अच्छी बात है. We spoke about the pressures of what the industry is, but I always feel कि the filmmakers are kind of like forecasters. या एक मैजिक बॉल आपके पास होता है जहाँ पर आप सोच रहे हो कि 2 साल बाद ये चलेगी कि नहीं, है ना? क्योंकि फिल्म मेकिंग इतना लंबा प्रोसेस होता है. और आज जिस स्पेस में हम इस वक्त बात कर रहे हैं, it's been a marquee year. It's been a marquee year for these big tentpole films. और 100 करोड़ से कम बात ही नहीं कर रहे हैं लोग, which is great for the industry.
100 करोड़ तो फ्लॉप मानी जाती है.
100 करोड़ तो फ्लॉप है. लेकिन इसका जो बीज है ये 2 साल पहले या 4 साल पहले मेरे हिसाब से बोया गया था, बिकॉज उस टाइम पे एक ओ फक था, राइट? कि ओ फक, अगर थिएटर्स नहीं, थिएटर्स में लोगों को कैसे वापस लाएं. तो today's cinema is a response to what happened 3 years ago.
Sure.
So what do you think? Does that worry you at all? Like, that this is the new way? Because I feel a little settled down. That's what my point of view is. Cinema is a product of the times.
Yeah.
But does that give you as a filmmaker pressure to make something big?
So that's what the zeitgeist is. That's where it is at right now. We are in the blockbuster era, if I may call it that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, it's neither here nor there. Okay, because I have it's 2024, so I have spent 23 years in this industry. I have seen these waves. ऐसे चलते रहता है. ऊपर आता है, कुछ ऊपर आता है, कुछ चला जाता है, कुछ ऊपर आता है, चला जाता है. So it's all fine. But yes, you are absolutely right. I don't think it will be the film making or the film business in itself will be healthy until we have middle of the road or smaller films also being thriving. Exactly. It won't be, and it gives me a lot of heart when something like 12th Fail does well. It gives us a lot of heart when anything that's which is a new star is born because of a smaller film that does well, or a smaller kind of a story, a different kind of a story does well. That really points to the health of the industry. Yes. Bilkul. So right now we are in the blockbuster era. I do agree, but I also think that it is very fragile right now. We are coming out from the pandemic, barely. We still have some new variant that's out there. So we are still, it is still a very fragile time, because all it takes is if two of these 200, 300 crore budget films bomb, then what are we going to do? Are we going to shut shop or what? Yeah. So I think now that we've had some success in 20, and that's wonderful. I think if studios and producers also gravitate towards making middle of the road cinema, which can go into the theaters, and get a proper release, that then we are in a good space. I remember 2010 Ishqiya came out, and this was a time which was good for smaller films.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, it had a proper release, it had a pretty decent release, and that's why it could do well,
Yes, I remember it was a short film.
Yeah, it was a 1 hour 59-minute film. Yeah.
And I remember saying, wow, us time pe, there was a term then which was the multiplex film. और उस टाइम पर सर आपने तो मल्टीप्लेक्स फिल्म बनाई थी. फिल्म पहले हम बना लेते हैं, उसके बाद लोग उस पे लेबल्स डालते हैं कि ये इस किस्म की फिल्में जो हैं बन रही हैं. But thank you for answering that question, because I keep wondering कि what all of this has proved to me eventually is that people will go to the theaters.
Yes, they are ready to. They are willing to. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Agar if you promote the film correctly, and if you ensure that ये film लोगों तक पहुंच रही है.
If you have a kick-ass trailer, people will go. I think that's where it is at.
I think you have a kick-ass trailer for Killer Soup, and they have to just go to their bed from their bedroom to their living room, जहाँ पर भी TV हो इस वक्त. I thought it'll be fun because मैं पता नहीं कब दोबारा से आपके साथ बैठूंगी. लेकिन क्योंकि आपने कहा 24 साल, which is specifically the last couple of, the last, since Ishqiya, which is 13 years, 14 years. मुझे लगा let's go through your filmography. I would like you to pick a scene from each of these films.
Okay.
That underlined कि इस scene में मुझे मेरे पूरे film का intent मिल गया. कि मेरी film क्या थी और इस film में मुझे वो मिल गया. So let's start. Are you happy for this?
Okay,
great. Sure. Let's start with Ishqiya.
Ishqiya is a little rough around the edges, but there was one sequence of that film that I think which comes across nicely is the song Dil To Bachcha Hai. Everything. It all just comes together. It's like a high. It comes in the second half, and it's a sort of, the song is very beautiful, of course. But it also, it's in terms of the story, in terms of the themes of the film, it is a bit of a high, that it gives you. You have this older man who, and that's actually, that sequence for me starts a little early before the song kicks in. It is in that morning when Babban is in the bathroom and he's trying to get him out.
जान की बात होती है ना वहाँ पर.
हाँ, कि उनको जाना है गाड़ी चुराने के लिए, and Babban doesn't want to go because he seizes an opportunity to stay at home and alone with Krishna, and then Krishna says कि अच्छा अगर आपकी तबीयत खराब है तो मैं चली जाता हूँ, and Khalu thinks that great.
और फिर Babban कहता है मैं
no, ठीक है मैं तैयार हो गया रहा हूँ. So that that scene is the three of them, the triangle, so to speak, it just really comes alive in that scene. And then the next scene when they are in the bus and they're talking about their dreams, it gives, this is what they really would like to do and be, and you get a sense of. And then the song starts and you see this older man, the song, and I deliberately, I mean, I remember at the time when we were trying to figure out how to shoot this song. I deliberately didn't. The song is wonderful. It is possible to create a very beautiful imagery.
Yes.
It is possible to do, but I try to avoid that and keep it real, keep it magical but real. कि ऐसा नहीं है कि गाने की फैंटेसी में चले जाए और गुलाब के खूबसूरत फूल गिर रहे हैं इधर, वैसा नहीं चाहिए. Just keep it real. So he has this journey in the bus.
In the bus, yeah.
All of a sudden,
and there's another girl.
There's another
she
girl,
and for then, that song.
Yeah, there's another girl, and then he wakes up. He sleeps on her shoulder, and then he wakes up, and it's only women.
Women, yeah.
Yeah, and then my ADs were like, we should have all young, beautiful models. And I said, nah, just get regular ladies, because that's Khalu, Yeah. So he's imagining this life that I'm going to have with this, domesticity was his thing. That's what he was looking for, and you see that in that journey. And he's completely in love. And while on the other hand, when Babban, who is, managed to fool Khalu and come back home, he has this encounter with Krishna. And then they start kissing, and that and then start kissing, and the song stops and starts again. And while all that happens, and the Khalu comes home, the song gets over. Khalu is beautiful, feeling great, and he's stolen the car, and he's coming home, and the song has ended, and he walks. And after
then
this,
he walks to the antithesis of this song.
Exactly.
Which is Dekha Jo Tujhe Yaar, Dil Mein Baji Guitar.
Guitar. So it's like immediately juxtaposed that, and he sees what is happening inside the room between Babban and Krishna. And the sequence of shots is exactly the same like in the first half when he heard her singing Badi Dheere Jali. So when the sequence of shots is identical,
yes.
eyes and all of that. And when he saw in the first half singing that song, she was a vision, she was Saraswati. And then now he comes, she's a whore.
Yeah.
So that, that sort of, that for me where the heart of the film is, ye sab revenge, theek hai, apne theek hai. But this is where what the film is for me. So
it's so joyous to revisit a film because I had forgotten Adil Hussain. और तभी भी मैंने, when I was rewatching it, I realized, I said, wow, yaar, this is one of your greatest suits, which is that even that character is one of the finest actors we have, which is Adil Hussain sahab. Did Ishqiya, because वो तो इतनी मजेदार फिल्म है. When you look back at that film, and I think as an audience we were having so much fun क्योंकि हम इन दोनों को जानते हैं. ये बहुत, because हम backstory जानते हैं इनकी. It was a very conscious choice for you to not refer to the earlier episode, which I thought was, oh my god. And the second question is, इसके अंत में हमें लगा कि हमें दोबारा से ये दो खालू और बब्बन मिलेंगे, लेकिन अब तक मिले नहीं. क्यों?
नहीं, जरूर कुछ अच्छा आइडिया आएगा तो क्यों नहीं. But yeah, I mean the idea was like, when I was a child I used to watch these Bud Spencer, Terence Hill movies. So it's
which ones?
Bud Spencer, Terence Hill. These used to be these comedies when growing up. I mean, they're really. I mean, I'm sure I'll find them very juvenile when I watch them right now. But I used to love them as a child. I mean, we used to get. हमारे पास VCR होता नहीं था, तो VCR मंगाया जाता था. हाँ, every now and then उस पे एक मेरे लिए एक कोई कार्टून फिल्म या एक Bud Spencer, Terence Hill की, ताकि वो लोग अपना सीरियस फिल्म्स देखें. So yeah, so I think the idea of this duo, came from, it must be in my childhood. I must have imbibed it, and of course it's a tradition. The buddy movie is a tradition. So this was that. In Ishqiya, when I was making the first one, I did not have any idea that I'm going to do a part 2 or I had no idea. So for me, Ishqiya came from Krishna, and then I created two characters who were macho, and two different, two versions of the same guy. Literally, it was like that. I divided one person in two, and but Ded Ishqiya was very different, and I struggled with it for a long time. When they said ki now you must make this, I was very resistant to it earlier. Yeah, I have never thought of it that way, but slowly as we started working on the script, there was a light bulb that popped, and I got excited. And in Ded Ishqiya, which sequence? Let me think. There's a lot of fun stuff in Ded Ishqiya, which is completely irrelevant to the film. Like, for example, that standoff that goes from night to day. I mean,
oh my god! Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very funny. Yeah. And it was almost like
सुबह से तान
खड़े में the thing is कि यार stand off बहुत होते हैं हमारी फिल्मों में, बड़ा स्टाइलिश लगता है, फेस ऑफ में जब निकोलस केज और वो लोग कर रहे हैं तो स्टाइलिश तो लगता है, लेकिन यार अगर कोई चलाए ना गोली तो क्या होगा, कितनी देर खड़े रहेंगे. तो that's where it happened. That's where it came from. Because I was struggling. I know Vishal and I were on a flight, and we were struggling with that scene and just talking. Think about it. What are they going to do? Stand for hours on it? सुबह हो जाती है. So that was fun. I mean, but I think another sequence that comes together well directorially, I feel, is the song Qawwali in Ded Ishqiya, which is क्या होगा. It's very Hindi filmy thing. Only Hindi films do this. गाना चल रहा है, बड़ा ड्रामा चल रहा है बैकग्राउंड में, है ना. जो होता नहीं था कि जो हमारी फिल्मों में, which I used to love, जैसे त्रिदेव एक फिल्म आई थी, उसमें ना विलन के डेन में गाना हो रहा है और सनी देओल और जो है ये लोग डिस्गाइज में आए हीरो लोग और वो. So in a lateral way, it is that sort of a song, but it's not happening at the villain's den, of course. But a lot of big things. This is ये फैसले की रात है, कव्वाली गाई जाएगी और हीरोइन अगवा की जाएंगी. तो ये सब चल रहा है, तो उसके पीछे जो ड्रामा चल रहा है, there's a lot of intercuts between what's happening you know, and Khalu, who's just gone through an emotional churning and has changed his mind कि अब kidnap नहीं होगा. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like,
थोड़ी देर पहले बेंच पे बब्बन के साथ बैठ के यही बात हो रही थी.
यही बात हो रही थी. What's going? So all of that was a lot of fun. I think that sequence comes together very well because also this is the first time you actually realize that Begum and Munia have a plan in motion. You know.
Yeah.
So all of that.
So double crossers get double crossed.
You know, so all of that was really fun to write and to shoot. Yes. And then also editorially it comes together very nicely. So I think that sequence is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. I hope I'm going in chronological order.
Yeah, so far, yes.
Urta
is the next one, yeah. Urta, I think I've spoken to Film Companion only about many years ago. It's the scene where Shahid and Alia, which means Tommy and Mary Jane meet for the first time.
You know, the beauty of that scene, and if I may, is that you don't even see their faces because it's so dark. वो रात में shoot हुआ है, but वो जो intensity है, and I think Alia in that scene just, I mean, for the first time, I remember looking at Alia and saying, what an actor. I think Urta Punjab is truly a gift for Alia Bhatt.
Yeah, and she's a gift for all of us. I mean, what a wonderful actor. I mean, you know, she takes the entire nepotism theory and throws it out the window, man. So yeah, so she was wonderful in that scene. Also, Shahid, I mean, took a lot from Shahid. That it was the last thing that we shot with Alia because not the last thing in that schedule actually. We had actually a scene or two after that. So, and you know that we shot all night. We were in some back of beyond somewhere in Punjab, nowhere close to any big town. So she had to drive to Amritsar and immediately get on a flight to Delhi and then to Kunur. And she shot Ladki Chul Kar Gayi that next night. Man.
Wow, what range. No? That's quite something.
Yeah. So this scene I especially fond of because this scene, Sudeep and I also struggled a lot to write. Because हमारी theory set थी कि भाई इसका
इन लोगों को
मिलना और सार क्या है इस सीन का वो पता था लेकिन इस तरीको इसको कैसे approach करें we were not in two we were in about 42 minds of how do we approach this scene and we also wrote it various ways. I also got stuck and I remember I approached Vishal also and I asked him just I was so desperate that time ki how to, so he also came up with a few ideas and all of that. And then later, finally, when we did write it, we went back to our first instinct,
Wow.
Let it be a verbose scene. Let the characters, vomit exactly what they're feeling, because it won't, then ऐसा नहीं कि हम कोई बहुत बड़ा mise-en-scène कर रहे हैं. It's just the characters, it's about what is happening to them in their heads because they are two drug addicts trying to overcome, they are battling withdrawal. At the same time, he's also on the run from the concert and the people behind him, and she's on the run. Dono bhagode. So let's not be smart about this.
Yeah.
Let's just be instinctive, and so we went with a straight plan, and we found this wonderful location, which we found also at the nth hour because हमने location figure out की थी वो मिली नहीं, so we found this location, and which was actually a blessing in disguise because this was a ruin. So our travel time increased, but somehow the location being this old palace which is in ruins, and these two people who are in ruins, that sort of, that
made sense.
And it all fell into place very nicely. And then it was all about, capturing the performance.
No, even though it's such it's not something that you identify with because if you're not a user, then you don't know, what that experience is like. But there is something in that scene which is so powerful is about when she just talks about life. Because वो चिल्ला के कहती है कि बार-बार पटक देता है लेकिन मैं यहाँ पे खड़ी हूँ and you figure out so much information in that scene. She used to be a hockey player. That information I don't know if I remember उससे पहले आई थी कि नहीं. And then you just turn around and when she says yeah I'm still standing, it doesn't have to do with suddenly drugs anymore. It's everyone there with a moist eye saying that when life does that to you, you still have to stand up and say bring it on. So I think that scene is really powerful. But I also want to say that I think the smartness of this is that match cut, which happens earlier, where, she's in the water and then, Shahid comes out. Did you ever see them as two people, with this sort of intertwined destiny?
Yeah, that's supposed to foreshadow this moment, that cut is supposed to. And the connection between, a lot of people have drawn romantic connections between Tommy and Mary Jane. But for me, it was never that. It's fine. Maybe later. after the film gets over. Maybe, who knows? Maybe not. Probably not. But for me, the connection was really the connection between two people who are at, from very, very, very different backgrounds.
Socio-political backgrounds, absolutely.
Completely. But they're connected because
they're
of these users, and users understand this thing about each other. The point of Urta, in my view, was that, the war against drugs can be won by the individual, because the system is never going to win it. It is such a vast business. It is such a big business. It is a business that cannot run without the patronage of some very powerful people. That for ordinary law enforcement and people to, they won't be able to. True. Because it's like cutting your nails; they'll grow back. True. That's what drug business are. So it is a pessimistic view, but these are the facts. I mean, they have been fighting the Colombian and the Peruvian drug cartel for God knows how long, and where has that got them? Cocaine is still the largest used drug in the United States. So that's where it is at. So the point of the film was that that Diljit and Karina's effort in trying to eliminate the system is going to come to naught, because that's what happens. But the individual drug users can fight and win the battle within themselves, and that's what happens, because both of them do. Yes. It's a happy ending for Tommy and Mary Jane, thankfully, because that film was.
And I think that beautiful thing about, see, हम समंदर वाले हैं, हम मुंबई के हैं, तो क्या है ना कि हमें taken for granted का अगला मतलब डिग्री मिलना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमें तो फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. And I used to always wonder कि जुहू बीच पे हमेशा इतना ट्रैफिक क्यों होता है. And I remember once being in a rickshaw, और वो बहुत धीरे जा रहे थे, और मैंने कहा भाई साहब जल्दी चलिए, और ने कहा पहली बार समंदर देख रहा हूँ.
Wow.
And I just for a second, just understood what that means, because I don't care, and that it's such a terrible thing. And I realized now I understand why जुहू बीच पे ट्रैफिक होता है, because it's just that sliver. It's exactly that stretch जहाँ पर सब ऐसे देख रहे हैं और गाड़ी चला रहे हैं. It's beautiful. Am I still in chronological order? Is it re-annexed?
No, it's Sonchiriya next.
Yeah. Sonchiriya, wow, what a film for so many reasons. What a bold, what a brave film. I will still give that to you. And also it was such a brave film coming after Urta Punjab, because Urta Punjab forced you to be brave, even outside of the film. And then you had Sonchiriya. Did it ever bother you that, this is a sort of film, did it ever worry you that will this film reach the number of people that you wanted it to?
I kind of understood that before it released, but not while I was making it. While I was making it, I was like, action film hai yaar. गोलीबारी चल रही है, लोगों को मजा आता stunts देखने में, देखो. And it was, and of course now the kind of stunts that we see in our films are, they are what they are. I mean, but they are of the Marvel category, कि बंदे उड़ रहे हैं, बिल्डिंग उड़ा रहे हैं, and all of that. But Sonchiriya had much more
realistic action,
because that's what happens. I mean, we worked so hard कि जब गोली लगती है तो बॉडी कैसे रिएक्ट करती है, उसकी ट्रेनिंग दी गई थी. और ऑल आर 50 स्टंट पीपल, कि हाउ डू यू फॉल व्हेन यू गेट हिट, उसकी बाकायदा हफ्ता 10 दिन 15 दिन ट्रेनिंग हुई थी. So, but the action was the thing, because I thought that if I designed beautiful action set pieces, they might enjoy them. They are enjoyable, they're thrilling. So at that time I did not have the awareness कि मैं कलात्मक फिल्म बना रहा हूँ. But as it turned out, a few months before the release, I did get a sense that this is not going to be a very popular film, because it's very somber. It's a very serious sort of a film, and I think
and you're batting for us.
That's
the hardest part.
I kind of got a sense. I remember telling my wife, "Boss, dekh, ye hone wala hai. So better be prepared." It's always a bummer when your film doesn't do well commercially. But
you're glad you made that.
Of course, I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy. I was happy even then also. I kind of anticipated what's going to happen at the box office. But I have not met anybody personally who has hated the film. Some people have liked it much more than others, but nobody has, at least to me, has said that we don't like Sonchiriya at all. Nobody said that. so I guess it all worked out in the end. I mean, and also it's a film that's very, very close to me. Very, very close. I feel very, very close to that film. I love it like anything. I have not seen it since then, because I hate watching my films. But if there was one sequence, right? I have to figure out one sequence.
That brought the intent of why you made this.
It's a very small moment.
Wow.
It's not one of the big action set pieces and all of that, because there's a lot of flexing that I did cinematically in that film,
Yes.
to design set pieces, block it very well, and think about it. All of that I did, and I some of it I did well also, some of it I didn't do well, but anyway, one very little moment.
I love how we just got a sneak peek into your mind, saying some I did well, some I didn't. Nice.
But there was one little very chota sa scene in which they are in the second half. They are in Beniram's house where they've taken shelter for the night with the intent of kidnapping him.
Yeah.
And Indu is with Sonchariya, the girl, and Lakhna is there, and he says that I'll see you in the morning, something like that. It's not. He's left a knife for her basically. Yeah. The audience doesn't know why, and he's about to. And this girl is in a lot of pain. So he shows her a magic trick, and he shows her a magic trick, and she's literally half dead, and she's watching him, and she knows where he's hidden the toffee, and she points to his pocket, and so that scene was for me, very, very moving. I found it personally very moving writing it and shooting it, because that girl is mostly quiet throughout the film.
Yes.
She's a passive character for the most part. But there are these couple of moments, 2 or 3 moments in the film where you realize that this girl who is has incredible amount of suffering and pain she's going through is a girl full of life. Be it this moment or be it in the climactic moment where she points out where the cops are. So these little moments really, because the film is literally around her.
Yeah.
So this one particular chota sa scene was very moving for me, and I really liked it.
Thank you for sharing. I hope that this chat will push people to go, rewatch this film. It's on Z5. It's streaming on Z5. So please try and do that. Ray was fun. Ray was a lot of fun, and I'll tell you my favorite moment in Ray definitely is when he brings the ring out. And I love how these characters have been with you. Like there's this Abhishek Chaubey universe, where when Manoj Pahwa shows up, you're just like, hey, he showed up in the Ishkia. He showed up in Ishkia. Then he shows up in Ray. That was my moment, because then that's when you say, oh, this guy is also a klepto. But it was fun. It was fun at that point to watch it. It was a big task, because Satyajit Ray ki, short films, wo thoda heavy ho sakta hai. Lekin I think there was a lot of repetition in that film. And it was so deliberate, because you had to go through the beats all over again, mere hisab se. But that moment for you, because was it about Satyajit Ray at any point?
That particular scene you're talking about?
Or generally in the film.
There was the whole thing, ki acha, especially if I say it in Bengali, Satyajit Ray, the pressure, if I, ki Kolkata jayenge to joote padenge. Because Bengalis take
he's religion.
He's a religion, quite seriously. So no, but I did not take that pressure. I chose this. There were a bunch of stories that were offered to me, and I chose this because I knew this was going to be funny and a lot of fun, and the story had a clear intent, what he was trying to say. And I did not want to and Ray's short stories are very different from his films. Ray's short stories are primarily meant for young adults,
Yes.
So I did not have to take the burden of trying to imitate his cinematic style or anything of that sort. I just मेरे में इतनी कुवत है और मैं अपने हिसाब से ये फिल्म बनाने की कोशिश करूँगा. And I really wanted to have fun with it. We were going through desperate times. I mean, the pandemic was knocking on our doors, and this was these 10 days that I shot the film. Shot in peak COVID, amidst very strict protocol, double mask and the shield, all of that. I mean, all the time. So the actors are safe. But those 10 days I remember being the brightest spot in that bleak time, because we really had a nice time making that film, because it was so much fun. It's such an endearing film to watch. It doesn't take itself seriously. It doesn't have something life-altering to say. But it's just a lot of fun, and I think we needed that kind of fun. I mean, that
absolutely.
Soup also comes from that state of mind, just have fun,
Just have fun.
We've gone through a lot of shit, so
I like how Netflix is the one who's, सबसे ज़्यादा आपको मजा आ रहा है उनके साथ. जी हाँ.
So that film was a lot of fun to make, a lot of fun to write and make. Niren Bhatt, who's an incredibly talented writer, and this great sense of comedy he has, and surprised me completely. He's a Gujju bhai, but can write Urdu dialogue like that, which was fantastic. He's so well studied in Urdu poetry and all of that.
And even though this may not be Urdu, but वक्त स्त्री की तरह होता है. So true. Yeah.
So yeah, so I think, I mean, generally speaking, you know, I try to have a lot of fun in Hangama Kyun Hai Barpa. Also do a lot of fun transitions, because you know the story by itself was set inside a train compartment for the most part, and it can get slightly monotonous just watching two people sitting opposite each other and just yammering away, you know.
That's so true. Yeah.
So I deliberately designed it in such a way that, you know, there's a lot of visual play.
Yes,
in the story,
because at some point you cut to complete fantasy.
Yeah, complete fantasy. So how do and that was also a device for me, because when you're writing fiction, you can write in first person, so you inside his head while you're also talking about what's going on without. But it's, so how do I, you know, what device to? So I used this device. I used mirror as something to move in and out of. So I devised it interestingly, you know, visually, so that people don't feel this claustrophobia of being inside a train compartment. But for me, the fun thing, where the meat of the story is Gajju Bhai and Manoj Bhai talking to each other. Just that conversation and just them playing off. It's like watching a, you know, great tennis match, you know.
That's so true.
Ek dusre par, you know, and just watching them play. So many times, you know, when you have these guys, you just say, sir, ye scene hai, acha kuch batana. We rehearsed though in the office. I built them a mock set of the train compartment in our office, and we rehearsed for a workshop and rehearsed for a few days. So by the time we were on set, because we knew we were going to be short on time and there's going to be difficult making too much conversation because of all the protocol. So these guys knew what we were doing. So I did not have to talk too much about the scene or anything like this. We knew what we were going to do. And a couple of minute chat, chale kare, and put the camera and just watch them play. So that was that. And do a few takes if need be. पहला take भी मुझे अच्छा ही लग रहा है, पर दूसरा कर लेते हैं. You know, चलो एक और करें, अच्छा मैं इस तरीके से करता हूँ, ऐसे कर लेते हैं. And just doing that and watching these two guys feed off each other was joy.
And lastly, of course, where we started from and we're going to end again. This is a long chat, yeah. The last one is Killer Soup. 3 एपिसोड मैंने देखे, तो तीनों में से बताओ.
तीनों में से, पहले 3 में से बताओ ना. हाँ जी. तो पहले 3 में से तो I will say the last about 10-12 minutes of the first episode. You know, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to shoot, because there are 2 Manojes and then Coco. It's just the 3 of them, and this is where it's almost like the womb of the story, because this is where it starts.
Right, and where it happens.
Yeah, so this is where it all starts. Everything until now is prologue. You know, so this is where it really starts, and it's a pretty dark shit is happening. You know, and but it's also hilarious. And in fact, the funny thing is that spoilers are allowed, right? So that Umesh is under the bed, and this one is Prabhakar and Swati are on the bed, and this is just sitting and chatting, and it's incredibly funny for me. I was having so much fun, and in fact, I had to keep my voice down, because वो sound वाला बोला था तू हंसेगा यार, तो फिर मैं क्या record? अच्छा, sorry. So like that, because I was just it was very funny, because I remember. Swati's going on about her dreams. You know, I want to do this and I want to do this. And typical of men, they fall off to sleep when women, you know, talk about their dreams. So, you know.
Damn it.
And I remember there was an improvisation that Manoj did. That she's saying, you know, na, mere paas kuch nahi tha, na family, na ghar, na car, nothing. And he says, yeah, you are poor family. And he did it. I mean, there was no plan, and he did it. I cracked up. I mean, it's natural, yeah.
It's funny.
And I got a stinker, you know, from my sound designer, sound recorders. Kya kar rahe the? But it was incredibly fun. So that scene was very, very funny. And then when she realized, oh, he's gone off to sleep, Umesh must have heard it now. But Umesh bhi so gaya, yaar. So just these things were a lot of fun, and of course, a lot of shit goes down in that scene. So I just find that last 10-12 minutes of the first episode a lot of fun to. I found it a lot of fun to make and a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it was violent and yet funny, which is exactly your brand. So thank you so much, Abhishek. It was so nice of you to drop by in the week of his release. You really made time for us, and I really appreciate that. I wish you luck with Killer Soup.
Thank you so much. Thank you. हाय, मैं हूं अभिषेक चौबे, और आज मैंने रोहिणी के साथ कुछ मज़ेदार बातें की हैं, और अगर आपको ये पसंद आए तो आप फिल्म कंपेनियन लोकल चैनल को लाइक, शेयर और सब्सक्राइब करें।